Well, I am back once again this week, folks, for our weekly wrap-up show of Game Wisdom Live. If you don't know, this week we've had two different developer live casts. The first with Asymmetrical Publications with West of Loathing, and then with Kit Fox Games and The Shroud Isle earlier today. And my voice is about dying. So, depending upon how things go, we may have to have my co-host, Rob Leach over there, may have to step in and be the host if my voice just dies on me. How are you doing today, Rob?
I am doing good, and I will do my best to just talk if that is necessary.
I'll just do a pantomimes, and you can interpret what I'm doing there.
I'll be doing the delay, of course. That'll make it especially fun.
That'll be great, too. Hey, El Gordo, thanks for coming on. I know you were late to our live stream earlier, but that'll get posted in a few days. So, it's been a somewhat up and down week here for the Game Wisdom YouTube channel. We did hit another milestone of 2,200 subscribers earlier this week. And then, in an interesting case, I lost 87 of those due to some kind of YouTube bug today, which it seems to have been corrected. But now it seems like the channel has been flagged for, like, a lot of my videos have been flagged for being advertiser unfriendly. But the weirdest part is that the videos don't make sense. For instance, my video of Dusk is considered fine, but the first posting has been flagged. And then the last few podcasts have all been flagged for being advertiser unfriendly. Which I was talking about this on Twitter. It must be because of all the rampant cursing and I can't think. I don't do M-rate sub to all, so I don't know what else to say. But it seems like we've touched a nerve somewhere, Rob.
I don't know. I mean, it is my potty mouth. I probably did it all by myself.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, when are they going? At what point will I see one of my critical thought vlogs will be blocked or advertiser unfriendly? Because that's going to say something. If it's just me talking game design for 15 minutes, what else can I throw in there to make it advertiser unfriendly?
And what kind of, I mean, it seems like it would be very hard to get advertiser unfriendly, except for maybe, just a complete, zero people on your channel at all might be advertiser unfriendly, but to have any viewers at all in topics that aren't offensive, I don't understand.
Yeah, and the fact that it's just on all the podcasts and just some of the game videos, and I can understand something like Hotline Miami. That was certainly flagged, and I agree with that one. That can be very mature, but some of the stuff just makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it's YouTube. It's just their random ups and downs, I guess.
Hey, Sungam, how are you doing tonight? But yeah, it's been one of those very interesting days, to say the least.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of other stuff that's been happening, I am still working on my presentations. I think I'm just about done with them. I'm just waiting for some information. I'm trying to get a hold of my friend Josh, but he has been very much busy with his own things. In one little bit of news, could be maybe that Hotline one did cause some trouble, but I sent them an email, so I'm curious to see what their response will be. Because I said that I'm getting flags on podcasts where we talk about game design. Like, there's nothing advertiser unfriendly. But we'll see. I did get a little bit of good news. That magazine that online magazine that I did a little interview for, Unite Magazine, they did publish the issue doing a feature on Game Wisdom. I'll be posting a video and post on Game Wisdom and on the YouTube channel here tomorrow. I have to just make a little bit of, just a quick little thumbnail art with it. Let's see. I did make sure with the Hotline to block, no music was playing during that Hotline video, so they couldn't get me for the music on that one at least. But the Unite one is nice. For those of you watching this live, let me see. Where is it? Here it is. I'll post a link to it in the chat if you want to check that out. But I'll be making an announcement video for it tomorrow and such. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. I did the whole grab bag stream the other night or last Saturday. We did play a whole lot of music there, but I'm not sure. 1 second. I just want to check one thing with the. I'm
I
just
think they're
trying.
usually pretty specific when it comes to copyright infringement. Like when I got my thing, they said specifically it was music
Mhm.
that they flagged. Twitch did the same thing. They basically said if I had one video where I was just lazy and just played whatever, and they got me for that like within an hour.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think they're very upfront about the copyright stuff. So when they're not upfront and it's just vague, I really don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know either. So I'm hoping I'll get a response from them either by tonight or earliest tomorrow, just to see what is going on with that. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get any new Patreons, so I don't know what I'm going to do with the Saturday night grab bag stream because no one made any votes and no one said that they were interested in doing it. So now I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. But for those of you watching this live recorded, are you still interested in like the Saturday night grab bag and for suggesting games and such? Because I'm still trying to figure out some way to better link the Patreon to YouTube and to Game Wisdom. So any suggestions from anyone would be really appreciated. I guess what did you think about that, Rob? With like having like one night for just like random streaming.
Oh, I think it's a good idea. It helps get people involved. Obviously, the involvement here was low, but I'm going to have to jump in and see if I can't figure something out. There's a bunch of games that I can't play myself that would
Mm-hmm.
be. Now, do you go out and purchase a game that someone requests, or is it specifically on your library?
So far we haven't came to that point yet. I'm hoping that most of the games will be on my library, but we'll have to kind of cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
Just make this a little bit.
Do you
Also,
have do you put your library out for people to see?
I don't. Is there an easy way to do that?
You just make it public, and then I suppose you can provide a link.
Huh. I'll have to see how to do that when we're done with this. But yeah, I'll see about doing something like that. Maybe posting it on Patreon or making like a video to it as well.
Hmm.
Let's see. So games, I guess, playing this week or like news. It's been again one of those weeks. We are almost done with August, which means that the big fall of game releases is going to be coming up soon. I guess one thing that I've been hearing a lot of interesting buzz about is the new Sonic game. Have you followed that at all?
I haven't followed it. I'm trying to remember if I got a good glimpse of it at E3 or not. If they even had it there, I imagine they did. So no, I don't know much about it these days. I'm just trying to recall in the back of my mind what it looked like.
Mm-hmm. It seems. Oh, is it? Eh, oh, we could do that. Elgor was just talking about maybe making like an Excel spreadsheet, like I did with the Darkest Dungeon, and letting people just submit their names to it like that. That could certainly work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sonic Mania has been surprisingly uh, doing really well from what I'm hearing. It was not made by Sega, from what I heard. It was done by a third
Interesting.
party, by like fans, like a company that was fans of Sonic who wanted to make a Sonic game. So that is interesting. Also, for those of you right now watching this live, are you able to make out the comments in the bottom left window? I haven't zoomed in yet, so let me know if it's looking too small. If not, I can. If it is too small, I can zoom in, and that should clear that up.
It looks good to me when I full screen it.
Yeah, full screen it's fine, but I know some people may just be watching this split or just like the smaller screen. What was I saying? Yeah, so Sonic Mania is doing really well. It seems to have also a really amazing collector's edition, which now hurts me that I didn't get my hands on it. Because I really do like really good collector's editions to games. What about you, Rob? Are you a fan of like when they really go all out?
There are a few things that I really like. I haven't invested in a lot of them, but one of my favorite things that any collector's edition can provide is one, a strategy guide that's very cool looking, or two, an art guide of some sort. I really appreciate that kind of stuff. I'm not so in with, like commentaries, certainly game commentary, like live game commentaries or whatever. Just don't do it for me. But I really do like the art side of things, kind of the history of how the art progressed, and I
Mm-hmm.
do love a really good game manual or
Yeah.
strategy guide.
Yeah, for me, I really like when they do go all out with making things very interesting. Like, I'm a sucker for like little cute like figurines and stuff. I have a whole lot behind me, which you can't see right now. I brought out my Bioshock Big Daddy figurine for like an earlier
Oh,
critical
nice,
thought.
nice.
Yeah. And that's true, Elgar, that the fan-made games have been better received than the later official Sonic games. And that's very like Sonic is such a very weird franchise like that. Like it never found like a comfortable foundation like Mario did in 3D. So Sega has just been, constantly throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. I guess for you, Rob, what's the last Sonic game that you've played, if any of them?
Oh boy, I feel like the most recent Sonic game I played is way. I mean, it's way best. The Dreamcast one, and then but mostly I played the original Sonics. I've watched a bunch of them on Twitch, but in terms of Sonic, I was a Nintendo guy, so I didn't really latch onto it, and I kind of wonder if that's not what hurt them. In that Nintendo had the Nintendo, and Mario was Nintendo, but Sonic kind of lost their console following, and so maybe that gap between their partnership with Nintendo and their previous release kind of hurt them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the fact that they've just never managed to, I guess, wow people on the same level that Mario has also hurt
Hmm.
things. And of course, there's definitely been more duds than successes with Sonic, obviously compared to Mario. I can't. Even Super Mario Sunshine, which is considered like, I think by some fans, feel like the black sheep of the 3D Mario games, is still an amazing Mario game.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's like that same thing with Dark Souls, that even an okay or a bad Dark Souls game is still an amazing game for everybody else.
Hmm. Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, the latest ones. The last Sonic game that I played was Sonic Generations. That was like supposed to be like a mix between the 2D and the 3D Sonic games.
Right. I did see that one streamed, I believe, on Games Done Quick.
It wasn't bad, but it's just very hard, I think, trying to make a new Sonic game. Because the mechanics just aren't. I guess the thing, it never feels like you can do as much complicated elements with Sonic that we saw with Mario. Especially what we're seeing with like Mario Maker and people doing like ROM hack versions of the Mario games.
Yeah, I feel like, and I agree with El Gordo, that the 3D did hurt them. It's such a weird mechanic that they went for, which is that kind of speed runner friendly thing. And when they go away from that, it feels like it's not as good. And then when they go all out on that, it doesn't feel like it's as diverse, and it's just running as fast as you can. So it's a weird thing. I don't know exactly what I feel about that as a gamer. Certainly, like a regular platformer, you can put all kinds of interesting elements in there, but when it's Sonic, the whole point is to go fast most of the time. So,
And the levels just never seem to be designed around that speed. Because if you
hmm.
try to go fast, you're going to get hit by spikes or run off an edge or some other crazy shenanigans.
Hmm.
But one of the things I've been seeing
Yeah.
that's very interesting about Sonic Mania is that it does very much seem like Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Like it's kind of like a grab bag of Sonic's greatest hits, but then things are taken a step further, which is very
Hmm.
interesting in terms of like it's one of those things like you think about it's like why didn't Sega do something like this before kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's got that retro look to it, and obviously, it is a throwback game,
Hmm.
and I feel like when you have a property that its initial launches were the most successful, you've got to just go throwback. And there was a big chunk of time in the last, say, 5 to 10 years, where 2D platformers were like Shovel Knight kind of really brought it back. The new DuckTales, the Bionic Commando, and all that stuff really kind of brought 2D gaming, old school gaming, back to the forefront, and that would have been the best time to just take advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when it comes to making these like modern retro games, it's just very tricky to know, just how retro do we make these games? As in, do you want to have extra lives? Do you want to do stuff, make things like intentionally like old school, with like texture flickering, enemies just like spawning immediately, that kind of thing? And we've seen games go in all different directions. Stuff like Cursed Castalia, Shovel Knight, obviously. What was that other one that I played? Shovel Knight. Dallas the Dark Call. There it is. But I think it's very nice that we see that market, especially in indie space, for this kind of retro games.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, of the retro stuff. Um, I am I'm a little bit wary of when modern games go with that retro look and feel, because it doesn't harken back to the properties for me. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that younger gamers are able to get a good feel for those old school games with new titles. I think that is great.
Mm-hmm. Now let's see. Other things have been going on. I did get a press copy of Yakuza Kiwami, which I think is coming out in 2 weeks, if I heard. This is the HD remake of the original Yakuza. I know we talked about that one, I think, a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we did. I think it might have even been last week. The Yakuza series is just one of those I wish I had gotten more into, but I had not.
Mm-hmm. So I've already gone past the embargo point, so I can't show anything else on it right now. But let's see. Reviews are open August 21st, and then after August 29th, I can then just do a full-on. August 29th is when it's released, so I can do just a full-on let's play of it then. I'm liking it, but it's still one of those series that it's trying to do its damnedest to be more appealing outside of that fan base, but I don't think it does a good enough job of introducing new players to it. Like some of the complexities of the combat system are like barely referenced in game, which is not good when you're playing it on hard mode and the game just kicks your butt like that.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about games that try to reach outside their audience. I mean, I've always believed in niche gaming is really, if you've captured an audience, why be greedy? Why go outside of it unless there's unless you're making no money, and that's just like your last grasp effort. But if you've got a solid backing, I don't understand why you can't just ride the people who love your game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I posted like a video of me playing it, and I got like one comment from someone saying that you suck at the game, don't play it anymore, which is nice. But that's kind of the point, that if you want to open this up to new people, it has to be able to be accommodating for it, or you're just going to get people going to try it once and then never try it again.
Yeah, and then of course you risk alienating some of your core audience, and it's not like there aren't enough games out there to switch to. So it's a really difficult balancing act. I know people who love the genre or love the franchise will keep coming back, but there's a certain point where you will start losing them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really interested. I guess it's another game that I'm looking forward to. Again, is what they're doing with Etrian Odyssey 5, which is another series which had a very stable hardcore fan base. The original 3 just basically sold out all their printing runs for it. But when it first came out, it was also looked at as being very niche. Old school dungeon crawling RPG where you can lose your entire party in a single fight isn't exactly going to be lighting things up like StarCraft or Overwatch.
Yeah.
But with Yakuza Kiwami, I am enjoying the game by the fact that they've added in so much to it to expand things out. I don't want to talk about too much on the stream here because I don't know what's considered spoilers and what's not. But for fans who like the original one. I think they're going to love this one. But I think Yakuza 0 may have been I think that one may have been better in terms of introducing new players to it. It felt like the pacing was better.
Mm. Yeah, that can have a lot to do with it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and Glorious remind me, StarCraft Remaster is coming out this week too.
Is that remastered? I know they keep updating the
Yeah.
art. What do you know what they're adding to it, or what it means to be remastered in this particular case?
I don't know for sure. I think it's mainly graphical. I don't know if they're actually going to add anything like new content wise. Yeah, sharper picture, more detail. So it sounds like it's just going to be, let's see, enhanced narrative and audio. So it doesn't sound it's going to be as involved as what Sega did with Yakuza Kiwami, though. But I'm
Yeah.
sure it will still sell really, really well regardless.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Certainly, it helps to get their name back out there again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, yeah. I'm thinking along the HD line. Maybe do you think they'd go 4K? Is that something that
It,
is?
yes, I think it says it according to the ad. Let's see. What is happening? Alright, so remastered graphics, dialogue and audio, matchmaking, and the same gameplay. So it sounds like it's going to be more or less on the graphical and just aesthetic side of things. Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks a lot clearer. I'm looking at, they have like on their website the, like the before and after of it.
Oh, that's cool.
So I mean, it definitely looks like it'll be a lot nicer. But I know for a fact that it's not going to turn me into a pro StarCraft player.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. There's not much that'll turn me into a pro anything game related at this point. Well, maybe not game related, but like, yeah, playing. I tried Dota 2 again recently, and I was getting better. I was almost able to beat the AI before I had to get called away. But like, I was so clumsy with it. It took me over almost 40 minutes to do that, and I just watched these guys online how quickly they move. Oh my god, I couldn't even survive 5 minutes with those guys. I'm pretty sure.
Then you would probably be me on that one. Let's see. A friend got me, like, good news, bad news. A friend got me a gift key for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is the good news. But the bad news is that I think either the game is not optimized well, or my computer is too old, but I just can't run the game without just crashing everything.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Old hardware. I'm getting there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting there. And it's too expensive to upgrade.
I know. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I did play Res Infinite earlier this week. I think we talked about Res last week.
I don't recall. I don't know if I'd played. I don't know if I even bought Res. Oh no, we did talk about Res. We did talk about Res.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking Fez for some reason, but no, it's a whole other thing. But no, we did check that out. It does look. It looks very nifty. Yeah.
Yeah. And I realized after we did that they have this area. There's an additional level in the game called Area X, which I remember just being like just another like generic level in the game. And what they did was basically create a brand new level like exclusively for this Res Infinite, which basically looks like what they could have done if they did a Res 2. Like completely remade graphics, full movement now in space, and it looks beautiful. I posted some screenshots of it on Steam. I mean, this is the thing that if you have like VR for, it's gonna make you just go like, oh, just like drool over it.
Yeah, I've seen a couple games that I'm like, yeah, VR is already indie unfriendly. Like, there's no way of catching up with those guys already.
Oh, hey Dan, thanks for coming on. We were doing. Oh, you found me through the West of Loathing. Yeah. I was also thinking about maybe playing a little bit more of that, just because I can't think of anything else to stream at the moment. Because there's still interest in that game. Did you happen to see the stream I did with the West of Loathing developers, Rob?
I did not, and I've been looking forward to it. But these last couple days, I was just I was down. I was running into medical problems. So
those suck. Yeah, I know. So for like me with the stream, it went really well. It's archived right here on YouTube. I did some work yesterday back in my jungle of a backyard, trying to cut some of those weeds down. I don't even know what's back there anymore. It's just like a giant mess. I think I like cut the skin though because I was holding my edger too hard there. You know. Oh, I hope El Gordo can see Dan. Otherwise, it'll just be El Gordo talking to himself for the next 20 minutes. Let's see. Oh, I did finally get to play 20XX, the 1.0 version. I think we talked about that one, but do you remember that one, Rob?
Vaguely. I feel like, let's see here.
I did. Mega Man inspired.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Now, a lot of these games, when I see these new platformers, it screams Game Maker to me. Do you think that's accurate? Is that something I can legitimately say?
Could be. There's a game that I just played that did make use of Game Maker, but now I can't even remember what it was. But it's been in development for what seems like years now, so I'm finally glad to see that it's out. It's not as involved as I would like. The procedural generation isn't as technical or as deep as we saw in Spelunky, where it felt like you could get like legitimately like original levels each time you load up Spelunky.
Yeah, I am disappointed when procedural generation is said but not 100% followed through on.
Yeah, it's so tricky to do it right because obviously I'm sure you're aware of this too, Rob, that there's a very big difference between good and bad procedural generation.
Yes, I can definitely concur there.
Like when you have, like, again, as I said, it's like the MC Escher kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. And it is very difficult to really go all out. Brushed on Toe Jam and Earl last time, and they did a really good job initially generated levels. And I was very impressed looking back on it because how do you do that with that limited space in terms of memory and but yeah, nowadays, when you got things like Torchlight and things that are just the whole level can just change completely and be very unique in terms of its challenge level, and procedurally generated items that just go forever. It's hard that if you are just saying, well, procedurally generated, but just the order of levels or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for the compliment, Dan. He said you really deserve more subs and views for the work you put into all these streams and stuff. So thank you. And like I said, for everyone who's subscribing, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And again, any help with spreading the word or suggestions for things I can do to help raise awareness, definitely get in touch with me. But yeah, when it comes to procedural generation. Oh, I'm sorry, I just got a message from YouTube. They're asking me about... No, they replied to my thing on Twitter saying you can submit an appeal, but they say on the appeal that the video has to have gotten at least 1,000 views before they'll even think about it.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I'm hoping that the YouTube partner support will be a little bit better, so fingers crossed on that one.
Well, if they keep doing that, if they keep alienating their streamers, there are starting to be many more options out there. I know you left Twitch, but there's Twitch is there. There's the new Microsoft one. Mm-hmm. There's Discord that you can, well, at least you can do stuff audio. So just, I don't know. There's options now. So maybe they ought to clean up their act with regards to some of this stuff.
Yeah, I really hope so. And again, it's such a new field, I think, for a lot of people, especially like I'm just happy that, or I guess somewhat happy that I'm not a full-time YouTuber in the sense that that's all I do. So at least I have other options open, at least small ways. But like I'm still writing the ebook. I'm 8 or 9 of the 20 done, so I'm getting there. I'll let you look at the draft once I'm halfway done with it too, Rob. So let you know what you think.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a lot of people who are just full-time, all eggs in one basket kind of thing, I'm sure this is just, cutting them at the kneecaps.
Yeah, and I know a few people who were able to make a living off of it before, and now they have to supplement. And they wind up going to be PR people for larger companies or smaller companies, and it's just then they split themselves even more time wise, so they
Oh yeah.
can't dedicate as much time to the thing that made them popular.
And also, for a point of interest for you folks watching this live, I have not one but two bottles of water near me because my throat is so dry now that I had to have a drink and then a backup to the drink and then a backup to the backup of the drink. So I'm sure I'm going to drink these entire bottles of water by the time we're done with our stream here.
Yeah, it is wise to keep water nearby. I know I almost dehydrated during one of my longer streams.
I'll send him a little message on Twitter about once we're done here. I don't want to be explaining things too much, but yeah, I know about that with Can I just say PUBG? Like, is there like a quick acronym for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds at this point? PUBG? I don't know. I'll just say for pub. Yeah, it's definitely a lot for running computer. Dan, I've been talking. You missed the live stream I did earlier today, and then I did a few more talking yesterday. So, with all the talking, I still haven't made a new critical thought in a few days. So I need to get back on the horse with that, just because there's been so much to post in the meantime. But we shall see there. What were we about to saying? Oh yeah. So with the procedural generation. Yeah, like it's very hard, I think, to get to a point where it looks like a developer's hand has been doing it.
Yeah, and that is a very unique thing and very I appreciate that a lot. I know the problem with that is it looks too much like a single level, and you don't appreciate the amount of programming and art and care that had to go into it and design. But I was just thinking about No Man's Sky again because that has that procedurally generated feel, but it's repetitive after a while.
And that's the other thing we were talking about with the difference between good and bad generation like that. If it's good, it creates enough variances, or there's enough variances built into the engine that the levels feel legitimately different.
Yeah.
If there aren't enough, then it just feels like I've used this example before. It's the difference between, kicking a door down angrily or furiously kicking a door down. Like, it's just window dressing.
Yeah.
And it's just very hard to get at that point right, especially with something as big as No Man's Sky. Like Spelunky is just a platform, and that's not to describe the game, but it's built around a very specific set of conditions for those levels, which the AI can then use. Something like No Man's Sky, it's basically asking the game to just create new life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really hope we get to see, well, I'm really curious to kind of see how things will end with No Man's Sky. Like, as we talked about last week, they released some super big patch to the game, but I just wonder, like, when will that end, I guess? Like, when will we see Hello Games say, we're going to make a No Man's Sky 2, or we're going to make a brand new game?
Yeah, it is. Their recent reviews have bumped up a little bit, so that might have helped them. But yeah, it is a tough one because maybe they just don't feel like the reviews and everything allow them to freely make a No Man's Sky 2. Maybe people who played the first one just aren't ready to purchase another one. So maybe they're just trying to get the people to like it enough for them to actually switch over. I'm sure it's in production, but yeah.
Yep, you never know. Let's see. Oh, so No Man's Sky has basic multiplayer. That's what I heard too. Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be very telling to see what's gonna come from Hello Games following No Man's Sky. Like we've talked about before, once you're known in this game industry, it's very different working on a game compared to when you're still like a nobody, or you're still making that first game before you get big and famous.
Yeah, and it's too hard. Like I know a lot of people just assume that these people who have a hit game, it's their first one, but that's just because the stuff they did before nobody heard about. It's just one of those things you have to just keep cranking out, I guess.
trying to see if there's anything else in terms of news. So I guess I know we're like 35 minutes in, a little bit over that. It just feels like we just started talking, didn't it, Rob?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
One piece of news I wanted to touch on. Let me see. I was just looking. We Happy Few. There's my voice dying on me again. Was in the news here on Gamma Sutra. Yeah. So it looks like they've changed things around in terms of they. Ooh, jeez. 1 second here. Ooh, that is very interesting. Rob, here's something interesting for you as an indie publisher. We Happy Few. We talk. You know what that game is, right?
I just looked it up. It looks interesting.
Well, the game, when it was released on early access, it was met with a lot of negative comments because the game was pitched as being this narrative-driven single-player game, and they put a open sandbox, which was like very light in terms of its design. Mm-hmm. So, according to this piece that they were talking about on Gamma Sutra, with early access, they're now going to basically, we talked about this before with this idea of going big, and it looks like they are doing that. When the game is going to come out next April, it's going to bump up to a $60 price tag, and the studio has grown from 7 people to 40. And that is very, very interesting to hear.
Yeah. Now, it looks like their current price is $51, is bumping up to 60. Really, that.
Really, it already. It's already at that.
On Steam,
wow.
Yeah.
I remember when it did launch at 30. Jeez, it's going up to $50. Whew, that is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked about before, when the developer decides to raise the price on their game like that, that always brings some very interesting discussions.
Yeah, it is the wrong way to be going. Usually that is the opposite of what is suggested.
Mm-hmm. And I know Ark ran into some trouble with that too. That they are bumping the price up even with the game still being in early access.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, you have to be really careful with that. I mean, the developers, of course, will say that's just justifying new content or new work going into the game. But, and this is definitely a philosophical argument that we could spend like an hour on right here, but if you release your game at X, at what point do you say to yourself, well, my game's here now, let's raise the price up $30-$40?
Well, yeah, you basically just gave, anyone who didn't get the game before at a certain point, then they feel maybe like they're a little ripped off. Now there's the opposite problem. If you drop the price suddenly or too much, then you have people who just bought it at full price that are mad. So it's, I don't know, it's a tough game to play with pricing.
Oh yeah. That is probably like 2 or 3 podcasts in of itself in terms of discussions. Yeah, so I don't know what to really make of it. So they're trying to turn into a full-size, according to their quote, full-size retail game. And I don't know, that seems very risky. And it's very funny that we were just talking about No Man's Sky, which also it started out as an indie project that they decided to, bump it up into a full-size game. And, boy, go ahead.
I was just going to say the comment changing scope mid-project is... It definitely is. It's always a red flag for any project to just change scope on it. There's certainly a little more freedom to do that these days than back in the past, but it's still questionable. Yeah,
and again, it always, and I agree with Oscar El Gore about that when you change scope like that, even with the best intentions, it's a very big risk. As you said a few seconds ago, Rob, you can also alienate people who bought your game thinking they're getting A, but now the game's turned into B. But they already gave you the money, so they can't exactly refund it at that point. Were you about to say something?
Oh, it's just the expectations suddenly bump up.
Yeah.
In that case as well for new purchasers.
Oh, and especially with that price, we've talked about this before, but when you start getting to like $50, $60, that perception changes of
It
like what
does.
you're getting. It's I think we said it's akin to the difference between getting a cheeseburger at like a Wendy's or a Burger King versus going to like a 5-star steakhouse and getting like a $30, $40 meal kind of thing.
Yeah, it's totally right. Yeah.
And it's going to be very hard, I think, for them to basically say, "Oh, our game was $30, but we've had this and this and this, so we think it's going to be worth $60 there."
Yeah, and the problem, the biggest problem I have with that is that there are AAA companies making AAA games who don't sell their games for
Mm-hmm.
$60. Uh, that price point
Mm-hmm.
is still a standard, but it's a standard that not every AAA publisher holds to, and that requires a massive game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the graphics are exceptional; they do look great, but every aspect of it has to be polished down to a T.
It's going to be picked apart, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
yep, go ahead.
it has called attention to itself by raising the price, so even more so.
Mm-hmm. Any bugs, any issues are going to be just magnified compared to, a smaller game release at like $15, $20 price point.
Yeah.
And that's another good point. So they just announced this like this past week, and they only have about like 6 months, April of 2018, for when it's done.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see.
aggressive.
Eh. And again, like when the game originally started out, it was pitched as just being this single player driven like narrative game. So that's another big point. We talked about unsung heroes last week, the whole Tactics Ogre catastrophe.
Hmm.
And that also started out just being a single player game that they decide, oh, let's add multiplayer. Let's add this. And the same goes for Goddess, which, oh my goodness. Well, that wasn't a pun either, but Goddess just went belly up on so many levels.
Now that I am not, I feel like either you've talked about it before, but I am trying to. Oh, there it is. I have seen this a little bit of it.
That is the Peter Molyneux Kickstarter game.
Oh, right, right, right.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the page right now. I don't think I've ever seen a game with very negative and mostly negative as its review scores. Oh, goodness. Yeah, the game just. Oh my goodness. That is just another example of how not to do a game.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if. Hold on a second, because I feel like. Okay, no, I did put it on my wish list here.
Thanks to like a Green Man Gaming credit, I bought the game for
Oof.
$1, and I think it's still. I think I spent too much on it for that.
Yeah, and this is another problem. So it's Molyneux, you said, and
Mm-hmm.
it's they put it under indie. That always gets me. I'm sorry, that's a pet peeve of mine.
Mm-hmm.
At least the last one, they call themselves an independent studio, but they do not have the indie label on it.
Mm-hmm. And they also then try to do a multiplayer version, leaving the first one unfinished. And oh my goodness, that game is just say a train wreck in terms of how not to do it.
Yeah.
Wait, Molyneux worked on another game that just came out? Really? Oh my god. Did they do The Trail? Is this it? Yep, 22 cans. Well, it looks nice. It looks like it's actually finished. It actually has positive reviews, too. That's a... that may be a small miracle right there. Let's see. But yeah, with Goddess and that kind of design, and that's the same thing. Like once you start going big like that, it becomes very hard to justify those expenses. Again, you can lower your game as many times as you want. People don't complain about that.
Yeah.
But this, even if you just raise it $5, let alone 30, it just really upsets a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. I mean, yeah, it does.
Oh yeah, and there's still a lot more about Goddess that we could talk about. But let me check our time. Yeah, we're approaching 50 minutes. So I said before I want to keep it to like half an hour, 40 minutes, and we're already going over. So
Yeah.
quickly then, I guess the last thing to touch on then for tonight, and then we'll wrap it up, was this piece of information on Gamasutra regarding Steam keys.
Yeah.
Let me pull this back up here. So what they're doing is cracking down on big key requests. I'll change this impact. And so they're trying to, again, curb Steam trading and Steam key selling.
Yeah, and the other problem that I see here, and probably a hidden reason that they're doing this, is to curb businesses from operating on their sales, which they don't get a penny off of.
Mm-hmm. And the whole Steam black market has also been a major part of that.
Yeah, the black market certainly brings up a lot of problems for especially indies. But yeah, the other market problem that I see for them and where they're losing money is when you have these even things like Humble Bundle and other Itch that use Steam keys and sell Steam keys, and Steam gets nothing. So you're allowed to do that. And last time I went to Steam Dev Days, they even said, go ahead, sell your own keys or whatever. But there's an entire industry based on selling Steam keys.
Oh, yeah. And Dan's asking in chat. Well, first of all, he said that went fast. I know with these podcasts, time just seems to fly. It feels like 10 minutes. It's been like 40 minutes. But the other part about, when it comes to Steam keys, it is a very lucrative market. The trick, of course, is selling it in bulk. It's not about you just selling one or two keys. It's about someone getting like 500 or 1,000 keys and selling them at like $1, $2 a pop, and then they basically get out of the equation. And then if those keys have been stolen or used like a fraudulent credit card, they keep the money, but it's the developer that usually gets caught in the crossfire.
Oh yeah, and this goes back a long ways. I mean, it's a touchy subject, but things like oh God, why can't I remember the name all of a sudden? The retailer,
Gamergate? No, not
Gamergate. No, the physical retailer, Game something.
GameStop?
Why can't I remember? GameStop. My God, how did that leave my brain? But how they resell, they resell used games, and that doesn't go to the developer. And I've argued that, well, there's a lot of benefits for everybody in regards to that. You lead to new discoveries and help gamers, check out a lot of different games. But this is a whole new level of not giving the developer money, and yet players getting the game. I mean, if you can get the game for $1 as opposed to $50, I mean, you can get a bunch of games that you never play, that you never review, and those keys are gone forever. Like as soon as a key is cashed, you can't resell it. So you get nothing out of it.
Yep. And again, when we're talking about indie developers who they may only have a market of like a few thousand people, if 5,000 keys get put on the black market, who else is going to buy that game?
Yeah, it is exactly that. And I have personally run into a launching a game that's sold double digits. And that is not as uncommon as you might think these days. Like I've talked to developers who are like, hey, can you help me? I've only sold like 10 copies. And I think to myself, no, I can't actually. As it turns out, I cannot help you there. There's really only one formula for success in the indie market, that has any, positivity that can guarantee you at least a few sales, and that is you have to be the one who does the legwork. You have to go out as the developer because like I found out as a publisher, you can't go out and do that. You can't go out and get people because you're not the developer. It's an indie game. People want to know the developer. That's just kind of how it is.
Yep. And again, as we talked about, being able to do that kind of marketing is becoming more and more important, because if you don't do it, again, who's going to know about your game?
Yeah, and I feel like the marketing aspect actually it's something I call honest marketing. That it's just a term that really refers to you just going out and making friends and getting involved in forums and such, and legitimately liking and discussing things with people and sharing ideas and all that kind of thing. And you go out and buy their games, they go out and buy your games, and the word spreads. That is really the only way to do it, and be natural about it.
Yep.
Otherwise, you got to look at it as standard marketing, and that gets expensive.
Yeah. And if you as a developer can't do it, and if you have someone on your team who can, let them handle it. But at the end of the day, it has to get done. And far too often we see developers view this kind of marketing as it's being evil or selling out to the man or stuff like that. But again, when you're in a space where everybody is trying to do the same thing as you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, you do. And I feel like as the developer, you have to do it like yourself. And it has to be a member of at least of the company, and that company's got to be small, really, to be legitimate. I know a lot of people are actually starting to draw lines in the sand with regards to size of company and amount they've made, and we've discussed that before.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But, man, it will be, again, like with Steam Direct, I know we talked about this last week in terms of all the games that are added onto the platform. It's still very much up in the air in the moment as to if Steam will still be the go-to spot for indie developers. Like, it's still the 800-pound gorilla of the industry. That's not going away anytime soon. But in terms of being an indie dev and getting notice, like, we still need to find that other answer. I don't know if itch.io is doing it, though. It seems like I hear about, but again, I'm not hearing as much about as I would like.
Well, it's a mess. They ran into the same problem where they were well thought of, and then all of a sudden, anything you can put whatever you'd like at any stage in the process, and it'll get front page for a little while and then go away. And so they just have this massive garbage heap of a backlog, and more garbage is being added by the day. It's a giant mess that it's hard to argue which way that you should go, because if you limit the games, you limit the audience. But if you have unlimited games, well, you're kind of screwed there too.
I think there's an industry insight video right there about talking about, again, what kind of standards should stores have, because again, as you just said, Rob, when it comes to one of the biggest differences between digital stores and traditional retail is that retail stores have a set of standards. You can't just walk into ShopRite or Whole Foods or whatever and say, I want to sell this plant that I dug up in my backyard. It has to go through standards and the FDA. It's got to be tested. It has to be made sure that it's going to not be harmful to people. But when it comes to the digital store, with video games at least, as we said, you can put anything and everything on one of these stores. And El Gordo just asked, Humble or itch.io, which one is doing it better? What do you think?
That's just have to go with Humble, just because they have that hook of donating money. And Dan, I do think that there's a lot of benefits there. But when you have to give your money somewhere, Humble does have a little. They do pick and choose the games to put in their bundles. Itch just kind of lets everybody on. So if you're an indie developer, Itch certainly. But if you're kind of a mid-tier developer or an indie moving on, Humble is kind of the place you have to be, because they will add to your sales over time. But their money does go to a good cause, which is its own argument.
And I know we've said this before, but we'll say it again for any indie developers watching. Don't put your brand new game in a humble bundle.
No,
Please don't do that.
No. Yeah, do not.
And yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think you just said something that's very interesting there, Rob, about Itch.io, that it was designed again for indie developers by indie developers. And again, the indie community is very insular like that. They want to help everyone. They want to be very free and open. But at the same time, though, like, and I know I've talked about this before, and I'll probably talk about this again in an upcoming video. Should any digital store have some measurement of standards?
I do. It reminds me back in the day when I go to computer stores in the 80s, and they would have a bin full of shareware, and try for free and whatever, but that you could not get in the retail stores like Babbage's, if anyone remembers that store. But like, yeah, you'd have that little bin, and that's where you'd get Commander Keen and that kind of game. And you kind of just get involved in this whole little tiny industry of kind of the indie games of the time. Or you could go in the big store and get your Electronic Arts games and that kind of thing. I felt like that was a good mix of things. You had a place you could go to for whatever you wanted, and to mix the two is a little, it is odd. It really is.
Yeah, and like same goes for Steam. I mean, let me load up the front page here real quickly. But like on Steam, you can see like every day, like big name games, and then these like all of a sudden just like random unknown titles. Like here's one right now on my featured and recommended list. We have Agents of Mayhem, obviously AAA game, and then 2 or 3 spots down, some game called Force of Nature, and then even more down, some game called Shakes and Fidget. What? And then even further down, Bear Simulator.
Bears.
And then Grand Pigeon's Duty. What is on my Steam recommended list here? But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Everything is being allowed on there. Let me see. Dan's asking, when do you stream? For most nights, I stream the normal stuff around 10 Eastern. The Thursday night when we do this catch-up stream, it's special. I will be streaming a regular game stream after this, though. I'm thinking about maybe doing one more, wow, my mouth just died on me again. West of Loathing, or maybe some Dusk. I do want to show off the Beanmancer class, at least on the stream, because it seems like people are very into it there. So there will be some games, there will be at least one game stream tonight. But again, at least for regular viewing, it's going to be around like 9:30, 10 Eastern for my normal streams. But getting back to the topic here, again, you have the big guys standing next to the little ones, and there's no difference being shown here. Like, as someone new, they would think, Fidget and Shakes and Fidget must be as reputable as Agents of Mayhem or as Bear Simulator.
A lot of people who buy the indie games do compare you to the AAA game.
Oh yeah. Uh-oh.
As the developer, you feel very unfair. You feel like that's very. I mean, you paid money. It's the game you want to you want to have a game that's as good as whatever, and you could spend $5 and get a game that's 5 years old that's AAA. So, shrug. It's hard to make yourself put yourself out there and make yourself an actual name for you.
And then here's the big question, and we won't be answering this one tonight because this will be like 2 hours. But if a store should have standards, what should those standards be? Because if there's one thing the game industry loves, it's coming up with standards for things.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing. I am actually dabbling with the idea of creating a store, and we're trying to figure out the answers to those exact questions. So I will keep you informed as to how that goes. But that's the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to make either a critical thought industry insight piece about that, either for the weekends or after Monday or Tuesday after the dissecting design for next week. Because again, it's just a very tricky quagmire to navigate. But we are now just about an hour in. I know you have to get going in a few minutes, Rob. So
Yeah.
it is time to wrap it up for this week. I need to get 2 more bottles of water. So I will be back. But thank you so much for watching this either live or recorded. If you're new, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Rob, are you... Please don't call Rob's store.
You do not have to worry about that. You do not have to worry about that.
Rob, are you back to your regular streaming, or are you still setting up right now?
Back to it during the weekend. I'm still deciding if I'm going to switch to night or day, but I'm going to stick to day for right now.
All right. So be sure to check out Rob's stream. Again, your channel is at Indie Voyage Rob.
Yeah, Twitch/Indie Voyager. One of these days I might go to YouTube, but who knows?
All right. So I'm going to take a good, I'm going to say at this point, maybe 20-25 minute break. And we'll be back tonight with probably some either West of Loathing or Dusk. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to check my emails and see if YouTube has gone back to me with anything. But for this week, I don't think I'm going to have a recorded podcast up, considering we've done 2 live casts this week. And again, if you missed them, they were, of course, the West of Loathing developer cast and my talk with Jong Woo of Kit Fox Games on the Shroud Isle. The West of Loathing one is already up, with the Kit Fox one should be going up in either a day or so by the time you're watching this recorded. But otherwise, we will be back next Thursday for some more chatting. And other than that, have a great night, and we'll see you all then.